Return to the Library of Doom, The Sea of Lost Books, by Michael Dahl, illustrated by Bradford, Kendall.
Return to the Library of Doom. Behold the Library of Doom, the world's largest collection of deadly and dangerous books. Only the librarian can prevent these books from falling into the hands of those who would use them for evil. But what happens when the librarian himself falls into the hands of evil?
Chapter 1. The Sunken Rooms. At the edge of the Library of Doom, a dark sea roars. Part of the library is built beneath the waves. Underwater rooms hold shelves of books. The books are made of jewels, coral, and pearls. Sharks guard the watery rooms of the library. They prowl between the shelves of books. They patrol the silent rooms. Their mouths are full of razor-sharp teeth. A light glows. The sharks stop swimming. Their eyes fill with fear. A shadow glides through the sea. The sharks flee. The shape moves toward the underwater rooms. Long arms stretch through the water. Each arm is full of poison. The arms reach out toward the library. Chapter 2. Floating Treasure. The arms wrap around the library's windows and towers. Then the arms tighten. They squeeze hard. The library rooms are crushed. The walls shatter. Books stream through the cracks. They rush out like schools of frightened fish. The books float higher. Soon they reach the surface of the sea. They lie on the waves like flat, square islands. The shadow moves beneath the floating books. Glowing arms reach into the air. The arms belong to a monstrous jellyfish. A huge air bubble floats at the center of the jellyfish. Inside the bubble stands a gigantic man. Chapter 3. Atlas. The bubble rises higher. It rides on the waves. The giant steps out of the bubble. He steps onto the floating books. His body is covered with tattoos. Each tattoo is a letter. Across his back, tattoos spell his name. His name is Atlas. Years ago, Atlas tried to destroy the Library of Doom. The librarian defeated him. Then he was buried alive deep inside the earth. He planned his escape for years. Now the giant is free. He stares into the sky. He is searching for someone. Atlas spies a tiny shape. It is flying in the distance.
Yes, says Atlas. I knew he would come.
The shape grows larger. It swoops above the waves. It is the librarian. The librarian hovers above the waves. He points at the giant. "You'll wish you never escaped from your prison, Atlas," he cries. Atlas scowls. "You'll never send me back," he shouts. The giant presses a finger against one of his tattoos. It is a letter O. The O flies off the giant's skin. The O spins. It hums. It shoots through the sky. It rushes toward the librarian's head. Chapter 4. Deadly Letters. The librarian snaps his fingers. He spreads his hands apart. The O starts to grow. Soon, the librarian can pass through it. Then the letter turns into smoke. It fades into the air. "There's more where that came from," cries Atlas. He presses another letter on his arm. A giant X flies at the librarian. The X is a magnet. It pulls the librarian onto its arms. The librarian cannot move. The giant jellyfish glides toward the X. Long arms reach toward the librarian. "One drop of their poison, and you will be the X-librarian," says Atlas. The librarian closes his eyes. His glasses begin to shine. Soon, his whole body burns brightly. Flames burst from the librarian. The X breaks. The jellyfish is blinded. It flees to the bottom of the ocean. The librarian is free. He flies toward Atlas. Chapter 5. Final paper. "Return these books to shore," orders the librarian. "No, I don't care about them," says Atlas. "It is you I am after." A large book floats beneath the librarian. Its covers slowly open. The pages are wet. The seawater has made them soggy. The librarian cries out. He falls from the air. He lands on the wet pages of the open book. "I had many years to think and plan," says Atlas. "I learned everything I could about you and your library. That's how I learned about your weakness." "Wet paper," says the librarian. "You are powerless against it," says Atlas. The librarian sinks deeper. He is stuck in the slimy pages. "Perhaps you need more sea water," says Atlas. He touches another tattoo. The letter C leaps from his chest. It hangs above the librarian's book. The giant laughs. The sea turns into water. Inky rain spills onto the pages. The librarian cannot pull himself out of the black goo. "Soon it will be all over," says the giant. "This is your last chapter. That book will be your grave." The librarian sinks up to his chin. Waves splash onto the book. The pages grow wetter and wetter. Soon, he will be buried in the paper. Chapter 6. Enter the Specialist. Behind Atlas's head, another tiny shape flies in the distance. The shape grows larger. It soars above the waves. The giant shouts, "How does it feel to be buried alive?" The librarian's hand sticks out from the paper. His fingers move weakly. Suddenly, someone swoops down and grabs the librarian's hand. He is pulled out of the book. The librarian looks up at his rescuer. "The specialist!" cries the librarian. "I thought you were just a legend." The specialist smiles. "Let's find out how real I am," she says.
"Specialist!" yells Atlas. "I will use your own letter against you."
He touches a tattoo S on his arm. The letter S grows into a whip. The giant aims the whip at the woman. It wraps around her waist. "Ah!" cries the specialist. She pulls the S-whip off her waist. Then she throws the letter back at the giant. "Return to sender," she says. "No!" screams Atlas. The letter S wraps around Atlas's body. Suddenly, he sinks into the sea. The librarian turns to the mysterious woman. "So, the legend of the specialist is true," says the librarian. The woman nods. "You protect the books of doom," she says. "I protect the protector. You." The librarian looks around. He sees the floating books. "I must return these books," he says. "We'll need some help," says the specialist. She claps her hands together. The sound travels through the sea. A herd of sea turtles paddles to the surface. "Hardcovers," says the specialist. "They'll follow us." The librarian and the specialist fly to the library. Below them, the hardcovers push the books back to shore.